This is lesson 445, Islamic Achievements. An essential question: what were the important contributions of Muslim scholars during the Islamic Empire? Warm-up questions: what are the 5 pillars of Islam? What is a caliph? And why did the division occur between Sunni and Shia Muslims? Muslims during the Islamic Empire developed innovations that are still used today. Why? Because the Islamic world was huge and therefore rich, diverse, and creative. Greeks, Chinese, Hindus, Arabs, Persians, Turks, and others all contributed to this diversity. Islam was also a bridging civilization in 2 important ways. The Islamic Empire linked ideas and innovations across their territories from one civilization to another. For example, the compass from China to Europe, and numerals from India to Europe. Muslims helped spread ideas as well as goods along their trade routes that connected Asia, Europe, and Africa. Islam also linked Europe with certain forgotten aspects of its Greek and Roman past. These aspects of literature and learning had been lost after the fall of the Roman Empire. A major example of this is the Islamic Caliphate of Cordoba in Moorish Spain. In their pursuit of learning in the areas of math and science, Muslims in Spain translated Greek and Roman works. Caliph al-Hakam II, who lived from 915 to 976, the second Caliph of Cordoba, Spain, was well versed in numerous sciences. He had his own personal library of books, and these were purchased from all over the Islamic world. And al-Hakam II oversaw a massive translation effort during his reign in Islamic Spain. Many books were translated from Greek and Latin into Arabic, and al-Hakam II formed a joint committee of both Christian and Islamic scholars to complete the task. And this effort contributed greatly to the intellectual life of Europe, and it preserved many Greek and Roman ideas. This is a picture of the Islamic Empire at its height. Islamic city building and architecture. Many large cities developed in Muslim lands that inspired new kinds of architecture. For example, the city of Baghdad, the Abbasids' capital city, was one of the most glorious in the world. It took 100,000 architects and workers 4 years to build the capital. They built palaces, mosques, shops, and markets. Mosques. An important type of building was the mosque, the Muslim house of worship. Mosques usually had towers, courtyards, prayer rooms, and the variety of designs reflected the great diversity of the empire. Scholarship and learning. The common use of the Arab language helped promote learning. Scholars from around the world came together in Baghdad to do research and translate texts from Greece, Persia, India, and China. Ibn Sina, a Persian, became Islam's most famous philosopher, and he used logic like the Greeks did, and his writings were widely translated. Science and technology. Muslim scholars made great advances. For example, astrolabes. That's an instrument that used positions of objects in the sky to find one's latitude. And the prayer compass. These could be used to locate the direction of Mecca. Muslims restored old irrigation systems. They built dams and aqueducts. They used water wheels to help the water supply. Geography. Muslim scholars examined plants and animals in different regions and divided the world into climate zones. Islam spread so fast that it went beyond the Islamic Empire's geographical knowledge. And as a result, they created extremely accurate maps that included trade routes and information about the lands under Muslim rule. Travelers like Ibn Battuta recorded information about their journeys all over the Muslim lands and beyond. Mathematics. Muslims based their work in math in part on ideas from India and classical Greece. One scholar, Al-Khwarizmi, is called the father of algebra, which is used to solve problems with unknown numbers, as you know. Algebra helped popularize Arabic numerals in Europe and spread the concept of zero. In fact, the word zero comes from an Arabic word meaning something empty. Medicine. Muslims established the world's first hospitals and based their knowledge on the works of ancient Greece, Mesopotamia, and Egypt. Islamic doctors treated ailments through drugs, diet, and exercise, and they also performed operations and used stitches after surgeries. The Persian philosopher Ibn Sina was also a great doctor who wrote a famous book that discussed the treatment of diseases. Bookmaking and literature. Muslims learned how to make paper from the Chinese and began making lots of books. Baghdad had over 100 bookshops. Arab and Persian stories, poetry, and prose were collected into books. A famous example is 1001 Arabian Nights. In this book, a wife tells her husband a new tale each night, including Aladdin, it's Aladdin, and the Magic Lamp, Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves, and Sinbad the Sailor. Art and music. Some Muslim doctrines discourage or even forbid the depiction of living creatures as idolatry. And this is because only God can make living creatures, and for other Muslims, this rule really only applies to religious art. For still others, this is not a valid Islamic doctrine at all. Either way, this belief has led to alternative ways to make art interesting. Muslims developed a type of art known as arabesque that used ornate drawings and geometric patterns to decorate objects and books. Calligraphy. The art of beautiful handwriting was considered to be the best art form of the day. Textiles and music were two other influential ways that Muslim art developed during the period. Recreation. Fun was also part of the Islamic culture, and two favorite pastimes were polo, borrowed from the Persians. Polo is a sport in which teams on horseback use mallets, wooden sticks, to strike a ball through a goal. And chess. Chess was probably invented in India and borrowed by the Persians. But this game of skill was spread across Muslim lands and introduced into Europe. Key ideas of the Islamic Empire. The 5 pillars, the basic differences between Sunni and Shia Muslims. In the Sunni world, they believed that the first 4 caliphs were rightly guided, and they believed that the Muslim rulers should follow the Sunnah, or Muhammad's example. Whereas the Shia believed that Ali, the Prophet's son-in-law, should have succeeded Muhammad, and they believe that all Muslim rulers should be descended from Muhammad, and they do not recognize the authority of the Sunnah. Muhammad receives revelations from Allah. The 5 pillars of Islam are a Muslim's basic religious duties. The sources of authority are the Quran and the Sunnah. They guide daily life. And Islam divides into several branches, including Sunni and Shia. Trade in the Islamic Empire activity. Number 1, on your map, outline the Islamic Empire. Number 2, draw and label the Silk Road. And on that route, identify 3 products that spread through the Muslim world along the Silk Road.